Most people think they're in control, but they're not. Every decision you make, every reaction you give, was already predicted. The real question is, are you thinking or just responding? From school classrooms to engineering labs, a silent separation begins. Not based on intelligence, not based on talent, but based on how people think. In school, most students are trained to follow. Memorize, repeat, obey. They learn how to pass exams, but not how to question information. And this pattern becomes dangerous later, because when real life begins, there are no clear answers, only decisions. In engineering, the pressure increases. Complex problems, tight deadlines, high expectations. Some students break under it, some survive it. But a few transform through it. These are the ones who don't just solve problems. They understand systems. They don't just accept formulas. They ask why those formulas exist. And that single difference changes everything, because successful people don't think like everyone else. They don't rush for answers. They slow down to understand. They don't follow instructions blindly. They analyze the structure behind them. While others focus on results, they focus on thinking. And thinking creates results. Here's what most people never realize. Success is not built on hard work alone. It's built on clarity, the ability to see what others miss, the ability to question what others accept, the ability to stay calm when others react. In school, reacting fast might get you marks. In real life, reacting fast creates mistakes. That's why high performers develop a different mindset. They don't panic under pressure. They don't depend on motivation. They don't get distracted by noise. They operate with control. When a problem appears, they don't say, "This is hard." They ask, "What is the structure of this problem?" When a decision is required, they don't guess. They break it down, because they understand something simple. Every complex situation is just a system waiting to be understood. And once you understand the system, you control the outcome. Look at people who succeed at the highest level. Engineers, leaders, innovators. They are not just skilled, they are precise thinkers. They eliminate unnecessary emotion. They reduce confusion. They focus on what actually matters. And over time, this way of thinking compounds. While others stay average, they move ahead. Not faster, but smarter, because in a world full of information, clarity becomes power. And those who develop it early dominate later. So whether you are in school, or studying engineering, or stepping into the real world, the real advantage is not knowledge, it's how you use it. Because knowledge without thinking creates followers, but knowledge with clarity creates leaders. And in the end, the people who succeed are not the ones who knew the most. They are the ones who thought the best. So the next time you face pressure, don't rush. Step back. Break it down. Understand it. Because that moment of clarity is what separates average minds from powerful ones. You're not losing control of your life in one big moment. You're losing it in small, invisible decisions. Every single day. A click, a reaction, a quick yes without thinking. And slowly, without realizing it, your mind stops being yours. Because control doesn't disappear instantly. It gets taken piece by piece. Most people believe they are thinking, but they're not. They are responding to patterns, following impulses, repeating ideas they never questioned. And the system around them? It's designed that way, to keep you fast, to keep you distracted, to keep you from ever slowing down enough to notice what's really happening. Because the moment you slow down, everything starts to break. You begin to see the gaps, the manipulation, the subtle pressure behind every choice. Your brain has two modes, one that reacts and one that understands. The reactive mind is loud. It pushes you to answer quickly, decide instantly, trust blindly. The thinking mind is quiet. It waits. It observes. It questions. But here's the truth no one tells you. Silence is uncomfortable, and that's why most people avoid it. They'd rather act fast than sit in uncertainty. They'd rather feel right than actually be right. And that's where control is lost. Because the second you choose comfort over clarity, you give up your ability to think. Look around. Urgency is everywhere. Act now. Don't miss out. Last chance. These aren't just messages. They are pressure points, designed to shut down your thinking and replace it with reaction. And once you react, you're predictable. And when you're predictable, you're controllable. Breaking this pattern doesn't require intelligence. It requires awareness. The kind of awareness that forces you to stop, even when everything is telling you to move. To question, even when everyone else is agreeing. To doubt, even when something feels right. Because feelings can be created. Perception can be shaped. But truth survives questions. So instead of absorbing information, start testing it. Instead of trusting instantly, start delaying your judgment. That delay is where your power lives. And then something changes. You stop chasing answers and start analyzing possibilities. You stop needing certainty and start understanding risk. This is where most people fall behind because they want clear, simple truths. But reality doesn't work like that. Reality rewards those who can think in uncertainty, who can operate without emotional shortcuts. Now imagine becoming that person. You don't rush. You don't fold under pressure. You don't follow noise. You see patterns others miss. You hear what's not being said. You recognize influence before it reaches you. That's not intelligence. That's control. And once you have it, everything shifts. Because now decisions are yours, not your emotions, not the crowd, not the system. And in a world full of people who react without thinking, a person who thinks before reacting becomes untouchable. So the next time you feel pulled to respond instantly, don't wait. Because in that moment of restraint, you're not just pausing. You're taking your mind back. From the streets of London, to the cities of New York, to the fast life of Toronto, a generation is growing up connected, but quietly disconnected from itself. Every day is filled with noise, music, notifications, opinions, trends. There's always something to watch, something to chase, something to prove. And it feels like freedom, the freedom to enjoy, the freedom to express, the freedom to live life on your own terms. But beneath all that movement, there's a question most people avoid. Am I actually living? Or just keeping myself busy? Because distraction today looks like enjoyment. Endless scrolling feels like relaxation. Constant entertainment feels like happiness. But real clarity? It's rare. In places like the US, the UK, and Canada, opportunities are everywhere. But so are distractions. And the difference between those who move forward and those who stay stuck is not opportunity. It's focus. Some people spend years chasing moments, parties, trends, approval, validation. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying life. But when enjoyment becomes escape, progress disappears. Time moves fast and slowly without warning. Potential turns into regret. But there's another type of person. They still enjoy life, but they stay aware. They know when to disconnect. They know when to think. They don't let the world constantly decide how they feel or what they do because they understand something powerful. Control is quiet. It doesn't show off. It doesn't rush. It doesn't follow every trend. It chooses carefully. In a world that rewards speed, they master timing. In a world full of noise, they protect silence. And that's where clarity begins. They start asking better questions. Is this helping me grow? Am I choosing this? Or escaping into it? Where will this lead me in 1 year? These questions don't limit freedom. They define it. Because real freedom is not doing everything. It's choosing what actually matters. Now imagine living with that mindset. You still enjoy moments. You still experience life, but you're not lost in it. You're aware of your direction. You don't depend on constant stimulation. You don't need approval to feel confident. You don't follow blindly. You move with intention. And over time, that intention builds something rare: clarity, discipline, identity. While others drift, you move forward, not loudly, but consistently. Because in the end, life is not about how much you experienced. It's about what those experiences built inside you. Anyone can stay busy. Anyone can stay entertained. But very few people stay in control. So the next time life feels fast, don't just speed up with it. Pause. Look around and ask yourself, am I creating a life or just consuming one? Because the ones who learn the difference early are the ones who never fall behind. Between the ages of 18 and 40, something critical happens. Not outside you, inside your mind. This is the phase where your brain chooses its identity. Not officially, not consciously, but through patterns you repeat every day. By the time most people reach 40, They are no longer thinking freely. They are thinking by design, because their brain has already chosen a mode, a system, a way of operating that becomes almost impossible to break. There are three dominant patterns: the dark brain, the white brain, and the red brain. The dark brain is aware. It questions everything. It trusts slowly. It sees manipulation before it happens. It doesn't react to noise. It studies it. People with this mindset are not easily controlled because they understand how control works. Then there is the white brain, calm, positive, accepting. It avoids conflict. It wants harmony. It believes most things at face value. It feels safe. But that safety comes at a cost. Because while it protects peace, it often ignores truth. And then comes the red brain, fast, emotional, impulsive. It reacts instantly. It gets triggered easily. It confuses intensity with reality. This is the most dangerous state, not because it's weak, but because it can be directed. And once directed, it becomes predictable. Here's the truth most people never realize. You are not born into one of these states. You build it. Every reaction you repeat strengthens it. Every thought you don't question locks it in. From 18 to 40, you are programming your default mind. And most people don't even know it's happening. They scroll, they react, they follow, and slowly, they become easier to influence, easier to guide, easier to control. But a small percentage of people, they notice. They start slowing down. They start questioning patterns. They start breaking automatic reactions. And that's when something shifts. The red brain becomes stable. The white brain becomes aware. And the dark brain takes control. Not in a negative way, but in a precise, calculated way. Because real power is not emotional. And it's not blind positivity. It's controlled awareness. The ability to see clearly without reacting instantly. To understand influence without falling into it. To choose your response instead of being driven by it. Imagine living like that. No impulsive decisions. No blind trust. No emotional traps. Just clarity. Just control. Just intention. Because in a world where most minds are programmed, the one who programs their own mind becomes rare. And rare minds are never easy to control. So the real question is not which brain you have right now. The real question is, which one are you building? Every single day? What if I told you that most of your decisions are not actually yours? Every day you see things, hear things, and feel things. And then you react. Not think, react. And that's exactly how people get controlled without even realizing it. Your brain works in two ways. One is fast and emotional. The other is slow and logical. The emotional part reacts instantly. It gets excited, angry, or afraid in seconds. The logical part, however, takes time. It analyzes questions and then decides. The problem is, most people live their entire lives using the fast system. They don't pause. They don't question. They just react and later regret it. Imagine someone insults you. Your first instinct is to react immediately. But if you pause, even for a few seconds, something changes. Your logical mind starts asking questions. Is this worth my energy? Will this matter tomorrow? And suddenly the situation feels different. This is the power of logical thinking. It starts with a simple rule. Pause before you react. The second rule is to ask better questions. Don't just accept things as they are. Ask yourself, what is the evidence? Is this fact or just opinion? Am I being influenced right now? Because the moment you start questioning, you stop being controlled. There's another trick people use on you, emotions. They try to make you feel something instead of proving something. And once you feel strongly, you stop thinking clearly. That's why logical thinkers focus on facts, not feelings. Another powerful shift is thinking in probabilities. Instead of saying, this will happen, say, there is a high chance this will happen. This makes your thinking more realistic and less biased. At the end of the day, life is not about what happens to you. It's about how you think about what happens. If you control your thinking, you control your life. And once you truly learn how to think clearly, no one can ever fool you again.